Welcome back. So we are just 2 days away from a significant shift in the global economic landscape as new U.S. tariffs are set to take effect on Friday. These are tariffs impacting a wide range of goods from various countries are expected to have a ripple effect through the international supply chains and also could have a far-reaching consequences for businesses as well as consumers worldwide. To help us understand what these changes mean and how they might affect trade relationships and economies, we are now joined by the International Trade and Customs Specialist, Leon Marais. Leon, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. I want to start off with South Africa. Come the 1st of August, what happens?
Well, there's a lot of information available already as to what's going to happen, but obviously we're going to look at the impact of it. The duties on a wide range of products, almost everything will be increased to 30% for importation from the Southern African, or specifically from South Africa, into the United States.
Yeah, and then
that's just one of the things.
No, you can continue, Leon.
All right, yeah, that's just one of the things. Obviously, the US it's not a unique situation against South Africa, but obviously there are issues specifically surrounding South Africa, such as, for example, the taxes that we charge on chicken, the anti-dumping duty that we charge on chicken. And we've got quotas on that. In terms of a certain amount comes in at lower rates of duty, a certain amount of chicken per year. The US wants that to be totally abolished. Then they want us to relook our trade relationships with a lot of other countries, for example, BRICS. It's not good to them. It's regarded as anti-Western. Yeah, so that's in a very short nutshell what it is all about, Joe.
Yeah, let's go to that the anti-dumping quotas or policy. So the agricultural market, according to the statement that was released by the minister yesterday, Park Staal, for the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, says that the agricultural market access by simplifying the U.S. poultry exports under the 2016 tariff quota and unlock approximately $91 million in trade. What does all of this mean, considering that back home as well, South Africa is also dealing with an industry that is saying that if you continuously import cheap chicken or chicken products, it is going to have an impact on our bottom line. And mind you, here we're also speaking about a human capital intensive industry.
At this moment, under the WTO framework, we made offers to the World Trade Organization in terms of what our duties would be. And those negotiations took place between 1986 and 1994. So the WTO agreement entered into force on the 1st of January 1995. And under the framework, there are provision for exceptions. When the rate of duty on a certain commodity is treated unfairly, in our opinion, we do anti-dumping duty investigations. The International Trade Administration Commission of South Africa, or ITAC, they do trade investigations into the specific industry. And it takes a while. And if they find that there is a case for dumping, they impose additional anti-dumping duties. So it's a remedial action that takes place. That's an exception, but it must still be done according to the rules of the World Trade Organization. And those anti-dumping duties are up for review every 5 years. So it has been reviewed about 6 months before they expire. ITAC publishes a list of those duties that are due to expire, those anti-dumping duties, and then it gets reviewed. So that I'm not sure exactly when that will be up for review again, but it has been in place for a number of years. So it is up for review. Tariffs are not permanent, they're not fixed, they're static, or they revolve. So the US and many other countries, for example, review their tariffs on a yearly basis. And after Mr. Trump, obviously, after his period, it will be reviewed. But in the interim, for those 4-year periods, it will be reviewed as well. But to come back to your question regarding the anti-dumping duties on chicken, we give quotas, just a small amount of the chicken that comes from the States, pay a lower rate of duty, and qualifying importers may import that. And once that quota is depleted, it goes back to the normal rate of anti-dumping duty. And our chicken industry is under stress and it is protected. We've got normal customs duties on chicken. We've got anti-dumping duties on chicken from various countries, not only from the United States. And so basically what America wants, they want that to be abolished completely. They want us to do away with it completely. We are managing it in a way, as I said, through the tariff rate quota permits, which are rebate quota permits that suspend the duties on a small amount, but they want everything to fall away, basically.
Yeah. Then there's the other part with this proposal, at least the plan that the minister speaks of. You mentioned the issue around BRICS, and that has been publicly been spoken about. It's been a debate as well. I remember even immediately after the most recent BRICS summit that took place in Brazil, there was also pushback against Donald Trump after the announcement once again around the tariffs and also the anti-BRICS sentiment. The statement, though, from the minister, although it speaks about the intersection of geopolitical, domestic and trade issues, it doesn't necessarily mention that as one of its biggest hurdles.
No. They told us before, and I think, well, like politicians are, they're not always open in terms of what they say. So even President Trump, well, although he's normally quite straight about what he says, that may not be one of his arguments. Obviously, this is a trade aspect and part of trade policy. So they're probably using that as an excuse, but it's well documented that our BRICS sentiments are not across the world actually received very favorable. It's negative. It impacts negatively on the relationship with the rest of the world, not only with the United States, but many of our BRICS trade partners are not members of the World Trade Organization agreement, and very controversial. Some of the BRIC parties have got sanctions against them. Their human rights are under the spotlight and criticized by the United Nations and the United Nations Charter and so on. So obviously we certainly need to relook at the way in terms of, I know Mr. Ramaphosa makes it clear that we're a sovereign country and we won't be dictated by other people and other countries about our trade policy. But that is definitely an area that the government needs to look at, is our diplomatic relationships and our trade relationships with other countries as well. Remember, BRICS is a political movement. It is not a trade organization. And so we carefully need to reconsider that, no matter what Mr. Tao and the president says about our relationships with the BRICS countries.
Yeah, so a number of countries have those tariffs, depending on what agreement they've reached or not agreement, no agreement that have reached, those tariffs that will be coming in on the 1st of August, including some BRICS countries, including Brazil as well. From a global perspective, From the 1st of August, when these tariffs kick in, what does it mean for the global supply chain as well?
Well, in the very first place, it will mean that a lot of goods in the United States, which is the #1 economy in the world, will become much more expensive. They will become more expensive because now all of a sudden, across the board, there's a 30% rate of duty. And when there are tariffs, obviously the industries, the importers in those specific countries are affected. But then also the people that will eventually pay for it is the consumer in the country imposing the tariffs. So it's very good that South Africa didn't retaliate, because if we retaliated with higher rates of duties, our consumers would have just paid for it.
So it was a good move here by South Africa in this statement as well. The minister saying that South Africa took the decision not to retaliate to the reciprocal tariffs announced by the United States, but we also want to reiterate that we have no intention of decoupling from the United States either. It's not the first time that this has been mentioned, but does it land as does it give the White House and the Trump administration some sense of comfort that South Africa is still willing to trade with the United States?
I'm sure it will definitely give them comfort, and it's obviously a very good sign. If you look at the tariffs that are imposed on various countries, we rounded about the middle. A lot of countries, goods will be taxed at 30%. Countries like Lesotho, for example, they'll have a 55% tariff on their goods. So we are definitely not alone, and we're not the hardest hit country. What is concerning for consumers in the other SACU states, Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini, and Namibia, is they're basically penalized for our relationships with South Africa, or for their relationships with South Africa, because we share a common external tariff. All duties that come into South Africa from different countries are identical in terms of the Southern African Customs Union Agreement. And they're now paying for that because we basically dictate the trade policy of the Southern African Customs Union Agreement. Obviously, certain parts are excluded because import and export controls are not part of the SACU agreement. Each country has its own import and export controls. The import and export controls on certain commodities, which are controlled internationally, are supposed to be controlled internationally, but then there are certain goods that are controlled individually. And that's another point that probably needs to be considered, because we need to see what our import and export control policy is, and if it is in line with the World Trade Organization. I'm not always so sure that it really is. But anyway, yes, that's another topic.
Yeah, and of course, then we have the expiry of AGOA also coming up the next month in September. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Leon Marais is a customs and international trade specialist.